generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are covering the latest episode of The Acolyte. This is episode 6, so we only got 2 left. So the hope is that this would either be setting up what's going to happen in the last 2, or maybe it was going to be a banger. Who knew? And so we're going to go ahead, talk about the episode, and then give you our thoughts along the way. What'd you guys think of the episode?
Um, well, my initial thoughts were that they just repeated episode 4, but with some different scenes, obviously, because Soul says, "Hey, I'll tell you the truth" at the end of that episode, and at this episode, "Hey, I'll tell you everything. We have to talk, whatever." Um, so they're just stringing us along. So this is definitely not where I thought we'd be at episode 7. Or
6.
going into episode 7, I should say.
Right.
So that's my initial thoughts. How about you, Sarah?
Well, I did not expect somebody to be taking a bath. That's
Yeah.
for darn sure.
Yeah.
Where they're being watched, no less, and it was very weird. It just doesn't even feel like Star Wars anymore at that point. You can see we all got a good kick out of it based on our backgrounds here.
Yeah, yeah. Um, when you don't have running water, you got to do what you got to do.
It's a part of Star Wars living, I guess I didn't think we'd see.
Yeah, I guess on the dark side, they don't care too much about privacy. They're just cool with it. But
Who knew this was a nude beach?
yeah, we had no idea. We don't even know the name of the planet. They won't tell
Right.
us.
Uh, I thought the episode was pretty lackluster. I will say there was a spot at the end where I thought we were gonna cut off, and then they ended up giving us just a little bit more. But either of those situations, I kind of thought we kind of wasted our time. There wasn't a whole lot that was really there. I mean, I guess you could say that we got a decent amount of character development between Kymir and OSHA, but that's about it.
Yeah, it feels more like a filler episode with a little bit of what you just said.
Yeah. So, talking about the episode, we do open the episode with OSHA waking up. Like, very, very similar camera angle and everything to when OSHA woke up in the very first episode, when she woke up on the ship. And when she
Or
wakes,
when she got pushed from the Jedi, from
yeah. So they
she's
love
just
this.
waking up all kinds of times.
They love this angle.
Sleepy OSHA.
There are important things happening here, OSHA. What you doing sleeping so much? But so yeah, she wakes up, she's in a cave, doesn't really know where she's at. She's definitely thirsty, and she, smells a little container with liquid, hoping to make sure that it is water. Yeah, just like Austin's doing right here. A little reenactment.
She doesn't have a hydro flask, but
Uh, she wanted to make sure it wasn't something she couldn't drink, of course.
it could have been poisoned.
It could have been. I'm surprised that she drank it,
She
but
went for it pretty fast, actually. She said, "You know what? If it's poison, this is the way I go."
Well, she didn't even sip it. She just like guzzled it down.
yeah, kind of like me when I tried coffee for the first time, and I was like, not for me. But she eventually goes out of the cave,
Um,
and we get our probably the most famous scene from the whole episode, right? Everybody's talking about it. We're definitely into it, I suppose. And we see Kymir
I don't know if
fully
I'm into it, but I think it's funny.
fully undressing and going out into this little uh pond, I would probably call it.
Yeah, OSHA sees him just trekking along the beach, and she's she tails him. Turns out he's just going to do a little bathing. He's got to wash off all that blood from killing all them Jedi. I don't know actually know if there's blood from
Yeah, I don't think
lightsaber
he would even
wounds.
look dirty.
I don't
Maybe
think he even got
from
his head in
dirt.
the water.
They did a lot of hiking, okay? He's sweaty. I don't know. He's got to take a bath in the forest waters. Um, I want to ask you guys something else, maybe if this is like significant water, but um, I don't think it is. I think it's regular water. He's just showering, but yeah,
I thought
this
it was just the
guy's
ocean of the planet.
yeah, it's just like a little cove. It looks like some
Yeah.
wa It looks like there's not waves there because there's some rocks.
I had thought it
It's
would
just
be
like
kind of
calm
cool.
water.
I thought it would be kind of cool if it was like a Bacta pond or something. Like, do I don't one thing I don't know about Star Wars is do they make Bacta or is it something that they get from somewhere?
I don't know. What if there's special minerals in these rocks?
It could be. I don't know.
I'm not a Star Wars geologist, but um
There's
that
definitely
I
something in the
guess I'll
water.
just ask you guys now because he makes an offhanded comment about um I mean it's not offhanded, it's in conversation with OSHA, but they're talking about, who are you or where'd you come from? He says I was a Jedi. OSHA says I don't remember anything about you. And he says it was like a long time ago, a really long time ago. Something like that. So do you think he's like using some kind of dark side or water or anything to preserve himself, keep himself like younger? Because he doesn't seem that old to me. I mean, the actor's like 30 something, but
Yeah, I was gonna guess like 30s or 40s maybe, but his speed and agility is really more like somebody who's fresh on their game.
right.
Yeah, but I mean, I would even argue that Palpatine was, very fast with his fight with Mace Windu. So, I mean, uh, I don't know. That's an interesting perspective. If there's something in the water that might be helping him preserve himself a bit more or heal or um I don't know. When I heard that, I just kind of assumed maybe he's in his 30s or something and he left when he was top teens or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Hopefully we get a little bit more, but we'll see. But yeah, we can keep going. So he starts bathing. OSHA comes around the corner, sees his wardrobe lying there. She thinks about stealing his clothes, but there's also a lightsaber there.
Right.
And this is probably about where he speaks out loud to her. He knows she's there the whole time. Just a little awkward.
How does it feel?
How
How
does
does
it
it
feel, is
feel
what he says. That's right.
to hold my sword? How does it feel?
She doesn't answer, of course. She just starts getting on his case. And then he slowly starts moving his way over, I think.
Yeah, heading towards her and little by little his body is being revealed from the water to her and not necessarily us as the audience. And what's interesting is that we definitely see her, size him up and down with her eyeballs. So I think it's kind of interesting how many, I would say, innuendos that are in this episode that I think like kids wouldn't pick up on because Star Wars is a kids show, but there's definitely some things going on here.
Okay, but at the same time, because I'm trying desperately to keep some shred of integrity here for Star Wars, was she checking out his package or was she checking his hands to make sure he wasn't about to do something?
She could have been doing multiple things, when you're sizing up, you can kind of take in the whole. She could have been seeing some scar tissue. It could have been anything.
This could have been her first time seeing that thing ever.
Yeah, so definitely like the most sexualized scene that I can remember since like Slave Leia, but um, you know, it is what it is. Um, he asked if he could put his clothes back on without getting attacked or
Well, and he says, if you're not gonna join me, can I put my
oh
clothes back
yeah.
on?
There's
Like,
another
did you
line
really
like
think
that.
she was gonna join you for a little skinny dipping? Like,
Maybe okay, I saw another theory about that. What if he just meant join me like join, take my hand, or like join the dark side?
And
join
then
my hand while I'm naked? That's
Yeah.
so weird.
go for a walk
It
on the beach
it
butt
is
naked.
it is pretty weird, yeah.
There's nothing about this episode that's normal.
I'm glad you feel that way. Uh, yeah,
Yep.
that's funny. Like, I don't know.
So he puts his clothes back on,
He puts his clothes on.
and then they go for a walk on the beach, and that's when, he's mentioning uh the stuff that Austin was talking about, um, with how he used to be a Jedi, and basically the 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 big idea that's going on between these two characters like the entire time is him trying to, uh, I would say, trying to show how similar they are, even though Osha thinks they're so different. And so, when she like talks about the Jedi, he mentions that he kind of understands that point of view because he once was part of that group, but it was a long time ago. But now he sees a different light, of things, and it kind of builds and builds throughout the episode. I don't really think that Osha goes too overboard. Like, I don't feel like she fully commits to him by the end of the episode. But let's see. What
She
was
definitely seems more open.
right? What was the thing that provoked when so they go back in the cave and they're having a conversation there. He's restoring his helmet somehow, some way with the little tool that he's using, which when on second rewatch, Sarah and I were kind of wondering, so he's messing with the helmet and he's talking to Osha.
Yup,
And he just casually like lifts the back of his shirt, and it doesn't
yup.
really look like he's doing anything with the front of his shirt. I don't
Like
quite understand
it's
why.
it seemed like maybe he was using his shirt to wipe the sweat off his face, and then that made the back of his shirt lift.
Hmm.
But the front didn't, we didn't really get a good enough vision to see that. That's just kind of my assumption of what's happening.
Um, I don't know. The only thing, I shouldn't say the only thing, but they're just slapping us in the face with the scar on his back. Um, that was just another scar reveal to me. They're just like slapping us in the face with it.
How is he welding his helmet without any eye protection?
That's a great question. Also, what are those devices called that he's using to repair? So I feel like it's like a plasma cutter or something like that.
Because we've
Plasma.
definitely, I mean, we saw in Rise of Skywalker, helmets being restored because of Kylo Ren's helmet, but
Mhm.
Kylo Ren's helmet wasn't made out of this Cortosis metal.
Right. Right. So if that helmet is gonna, you know, do something to the energy of a laser sword, what's it gonna do to a torch? That's the only reason I ask, but
Which, so this episode kind of goes back and forth between Osha and Chimere, and then May and Soul. And I'm gonna stick with Osha and Chimere just to kind of, for the sake of figuring things out. But there was a
Yeah,
scene where she looks at the wall, and to me, it looked like she was just looking at a vine or something, and it really didn't make any sense. And I asked Jeremy, like, what's the point of this shot? And you actually had some interesting background that made a lot of sense.
so I was reading up on, all the different things that are going on with this episode because it's very striking that, whenever Disney has a new planet, they're like, this is what the name of the planet is. So we all know we're all on the same page. But when they refer to this planet, they say unknown planet, and they aren't, putting it in our face. And so I decided to see just what people were talking about with the episode, and it was brought up that there is a planet in Legends that w- it's a planet with luscious islands and lots of water, which is very similar to what we're seeing here. And the special thing about that planet is that it had a lot of cortosis in the rock and minerals and stuff like that. And so when she's looking at those two different things, I think she's looking at the color of the cortosis on his helmet and then looking up at the cortosis in the walls and making that connection of this is probably where he got it from. But I will say, I feel like they're really trying hard to misdirect the audience because they're showing some of the creature life on this planet, and those creatures look a lot like the creatures from The Last Jedi when we were on Ahch-To, and this place looks a lot like Ahch-To. So it makes me wonder, are we going to be calling this planet the name that Legends is calling it? I forget what it's called, but it starts with a B. Or are they kind of switching it up and saying that Ahch-To is the planet that, has the special metals? Because before I looked all that stuff up, I was kind of wondering in The Last Jedi, Luke is talking about like this gaping hole in the where he resides, and it's kind of like where darkness is. And I had wondered if that's kind of like where we're gonna explore on this island. If this was Ahch-To, are we gonna see more of the dark side in that? Or did Chimere create that? Or is there somebody else here on all these different things of are we gonna get explanations about Ahch-To, especially since I kind of feel like this is very similar interactions as Luke and Rey with Chimere and Osha, where Chimere is really giving Osha these different points of views of the Jedi, which is the same thing that Luke was kind of doing with Rey, because he was talking about how they were a failure and they basically got too big for their britches, so to speak. So I feel like there's a lot of parallels, but at the same time, I feel like that's a misdirection. I
Yeah. Um, I see what you're talking about with the parallels between the planets, like the little birds. Um, to me, this planet just feels different. Like, I think if it was, I feel like if it was Octu, they would have told us. I don't know. Um,
We haven't
but
seen any of the like island caretakers that were on Octo.
right?
mhm. Yeah, I'm thinking it is that planet from Legends. Like they've done so little to surprise me so far in 6 episodes that I think everything is just I'm just taking it at face value now. If they subvert my expectations later, I will be thrilled. But like so far, everything is just played out. Well, that's not even true. They subverted my expectations in the wrong way by not giving me any cool Wookiee Jedis. But like
Not yet.
maybe I get 2 seconds of it next episode. We'll see. Um, but yeah,
You
like
get to see your
the
lightsaber whip. I know we'll get to that later.
right, like if the lightsaber whip thing turns out to be true, if so Kymer was already the Sith guy, which we kind of figured out immediately. Um, I don't know. I just think everything's been the twin stuff's all been quite obvious to some extent when it makes sense, like when the characters act how we expect them to act, but they both seem to have bipolar, flippy floppy change sides, so we'll see.
Chimer's just got a sense of confidence, and it's like almost to the point of arrogance, but not at the same time. Like, the ship's right there if you want to go swim out to it before dark
Yeah.
and you can leave, or you can join me for dinner, or, like if you're not going to join me for this swim or whatever it was that he was saying there. Like he's so full of himself in a way that like, but at the same time doesn't really care. Like it's so weird.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if she were to go to the try to swim to the ship, what's going to happen? Is he just gonna like float across the water and he'll be there like before she gets there and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" You know? And like he's not gonna let her just strand him there. But
Well, it's
maybe.
like it's like a sense of you can trust me because I'll let you leave if you want to.
Yeah,
I,
he's definitely trying to
it,
build a bond.
it's your idea to stay. I'm not forcing you.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I think that's kind of a devil's advocate point of view, but I think that's almost like a power and control type situation because he's telling, like, she wants to go, right? She doesn't want to be there with him, at least at first. And so he's like, the ship's right there. You can go. And he's almost trying to like call a bluff. And because even though she wants to and the opportunity's there and she decides not to, that makes him that much more in control.
Yeah, but I could also see her having a lot of reasons to stay. Like she I mean, we get to see it later. She pulls the lightsaber out, but she obviously has a little bit of fire in there. Um, so I think maybe he can sense that. But um, where was I going with this? I guess I don't know. I think she wants more answers. I think there's a part of her that kind of wants revenge. Um,
Well, let's talk about that scene for a sec where she pulls the lightsaber on him. So she's got the lightsaber and he's like, "Well, aren't you forgetting something?" And is, putting the lightsaber up to his chest saying like, "Just turn it on." Like as if it's a gun saying just pull the trigger, right?
mhm.
Because he knows she won't. And so they have some kind of back and forth in their dialogue, not really from like a physical struggle because he's blatantly saying just to try to kill me. Uh but he gets her really upset because he essentially gets her to admit to herself at least that the Jedi really kind of did throw her away and that she did choose to leave, but that it wasn't really her choice.
She said she failed. So whatever it was, she failed at being a Jedi,
Yeah.
which I actually really didn't like how they portrayed, her going up to him because when she ignites the lightsaber and she puts it up to his chest, if someone's hands were on my chest with the lightsaber and the hilt, I feel like that's way less threatening than having the blade like humming right underneath his neck. It's kind of like, if a burglar or whoever was wanting to point a gun at you, but instead they just put the side of the gun up to your chest, and then you're like, oh, well, what's gonna happen? So I feel like it would have been more menacing, maybe, or threatening if she would have actually had the blade up against him as opposed to just her hands.
It would have made her seem a lot more powerful, I think.
Yeah, she definitely did not have the youngling Slayer setting on. She wasn't going for that form. Um,
So we wrap up the OSHA Chimere part, right, with the helmet and talking about his scars, and or at least she asks, but he doesn't really answer where they came from, does he?
Not really. I mean, us as the audience can kind of put one and two together with how much they're showing the scars on his back, and then they cut to, the lady with the whip lightsaber, so there might be some sort of connection there. But
Yeah.
um,
Yep. So he's talking about his helmet and how it blocks out the force, but then at the same time makes you stronger with the force and is like tempting her to try it on. And he leaves to go do something. I don't know. I think he kind of just disappears from the scene. And so she tries it on. Why not? Let's see what this is all about. And
mhm.
like any actual, if you've ever had a Star Wars helmet, like a replica, and you try it on, I swear you can't see hardly anything, or at least with like our Mandalorian type one, you can't see hardly anything through that strip. So it's kind
oh,
of interesting to see her try this helmet on, and there's just like this teeny little strip, not even enough that you can see anything. It's more like you can just see light coming through the helmet. So she's essentially blind with this thing on. And it really makes you wonder, like, how does he see what's going on around him. Like I understand the idea of like, okay, now my sense with the force is more powerful, so I can like block hits and anticipate people's movement and whatnot. But like he was like, able to glide or run or float through the jungle and stuff like that. Like how do you not run into a tree?
Yeah, he's a bit OP now that we've like seen the in-helmet view, because he says it blocks out the senses. It's just you and the force. So perhaps it's like something where the senses are drowned out, so you're stronger with the force because that's the only thing you're relying on. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking back to like Rebels with Kanan when he was blind, he could still get around and do everything he needs to do just because he was, you know, that tapped into the Force. I think this is a similar idea. I mean, we've seen this guy like hover around, so we know he's pretty OP. But this kind of puts things into perspective why he put the Jedi down so easily, why they like the first 8 of them were no match. First 7 of them, maybe, I can't remember. But I don't know. That's kind of what I interpreted from that. Now the breathing part, that's at the very end, but that part was a little weird to me.
Yeah, a lot of people were trying to correlate it to like Vader's breathing in a way. I would say on second watch, I felt like it wasn't as in your face about, being closely related to Vader, so I don't really know. I mean, they definitely try to put it in our face from the episode point of view because they let her breathe like 4 or 5 times in and out,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Didn't really get much from it myself.
Right. And that could also just be her like, I don't know, calming, focusing on her breathing. Like it's a meditation technique to, you know,
Or focusing the force with it on.
right, right, you know. She's not going to be worried about sight or hearing, really. So,
It makes me wonder if Kymir is to be defeated in this show. I bet his helmet has to be off
yeah.
because then, he doesn't have all those things that he psyched himself up to have with the helmet on.
Yeah, we saw it's kind of fragile, the material, so maybe they'll break it again somehow. Um, but did you guys want to dip back into Soul does catch on to May here eventually with a little
Yeah.
help from Basil. And I guess Pip, if you want to give Pip a little 1% effort. Does get resulted with a factory reset for doing his contribution, but they end up stunning May, and then she is tied up essentially, and Soul wants to talk. He wants to talk in private. He blasts out of there right when he gets a comm from the Jedi saying, "Don't leave your position. We're on our way." He's like, I'm out. See ya." What'd you guys think about that?
I think so. The one of the big discussions about this show in general is how in the world is this stuff working if the Sith haven't been seen for a millennia, right? I
Right.
think it's going to be Soul that covers it up, and either he's going to go into exile or hiding, or he's going to die by the end of this because uh, we even get Soul saying that he hasn't even told, the council about what happened years ago with the witches. He said, I finally might have to tell them. And so I think that he is comfortable with hiding information from, those above him. So I think this is kind of where we're going to get it.
Yeah. Um, Sarah, how are you feeling on Soul? Where's your meter at?
I was liking him at the beginning of the season just because he seems like a cool guy, but the I'll tell you later, I'll tell you later, I'll tell you later, and then I'm never really gonna tell you. It's dragging on a bit too much, and it's making me feel like his character is really weak and just flat and boring.
Hmm.
His performance this episode, and it's not, I don't think it's really on the actor. I think it's really on the writing. Um, it was super lackluster.
I actually
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna get it the next episode.
Uh,
I think
yeah,
what's
I'm
gonna happen.
hoping. I think we're supposed to get more flashback next episode. I think that's what I've heard. That's what most people are speculating. Um, so maybe we finally get the other half of what happened episode 3. People are saying that because the director of episode 3, the flashback, is the same as for episode 7.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, then they would be like the ones to work with like the child actors and all that stuff.
Hmm. So we might finally find out the soul backstory that they've strung us along this long. But I'll tell you where I'm at. I thought he was supposed to be the good Jedi. Like I've always seen him as like the moral right Jedi in the show. But now he's acting shady like the last couple episodes for sure.
Like almost
Um,
killing Chimere when he was unarmed.
mhm. So now I'm like, they're talking about, okay, Kymer wants to get an apprentice for more power. Why does
Yes,
he
because
want
he
more
wants the
power?
power of two.
He wants to overthrow the person above him, the person that trained him. So I've heard whispers that there's going to be another Sith in this show. So that would have to be his master. Um, so if that guy shows up, here's my suspect so far. Soul's number one because he's been acting really shady right now. So I think that'd be a wild twist. That would really subvert my expectations. I think that would be fun if it was Soul. Um, and that would make sense why he was about to kill him right there because he was mad that he was training as an apprentice. Um,
I think it would be an interesting perspective if it was Soul because like, he doesn't want the council to know what happened on that planet. So
mhm.
if he doesn't want them to know and he doesn't want to risk the other people that were there letting it out, well then he'd have to hire someone to kill them all. That'd be an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I didn't think it was him until the moment he like sped away. That was like super sketchy to me. But my other candidates are, let's see, oh, Mog, that Jedi at the temple, because he's like, it's okay, Master, I forget her name, the green lady, but
Vernestra.
Vernestra. He's like, it's okay, Vernestra, you don't have to check it out. We got this. Like, that was suspicious to me. So I
Bob,
think Mog, yeah,
which
I
one
think
was
it
that?
could. It's not important. It's not him. And the other candidate is Basil. It could be Basil. He could be the Sith Lord.
I think that's what everybody wants it to be.
Yeah, I don't know. So the only other things we haven't really touched on, the Jedi do check out the planet. They did get the initial distress call. Um, yeah, so Vernestra checks it out with some other Jedi. They stumble upon some of the bodies. Don't know how they found them so fast without the tracker, but we don't have to get into it. Um, she does seem to be a bit more powerful in the Force based on when she was walking through the scene of the crime. She seemed to be reliving it a bit. Um,
It's kind of funny that she
Yes.
kind of had like a backhanded response to I don't know if he's a knight or a Padawan that was with her.
that's
He had the
Mog.
braid.
He did have the braid. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay, so yeah, he'd probably be a Padawan. But like he said, "What happened here?" And she's like, "Well, what do you think happened here?" Kind of a thing.
What do you see?
And then he says one versus many. That was so annoying. Too on the nose. Like, just stop.
His whole character annoyed me. He just seems like such a dweeb.
Yeah.
I think some people were uh from the whispers and theories I saw on Twitter and whatnot. Some people were wondering, is this Palpatine in his young years.
Oh, mm,
I kind of hope it's not.
yeah.
Hmm.
Wait, you're not talking about you're talking about that Jedi, the Padawan?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Mm, I don't think so, but maybe. Yeah, we get to
We
see that was our one action scene for the episode because that's all we get on some of the episodes. We get to see the lightsaber whip. Slice a bug.
I feel like we didn't even really get to see it. Like we got to see it, but the camera angle changed too much that you didn't even really get to see it.
It's because lightsaber whips aren't real, Sarah. They can't really do that.
Mhm.
It does happen very fast. Yeah, they don't have the best shot of it. Hopefully we get a little more, maybe one more use of the lightsaber whip, I'd be satisfied with, I guess, if that's all we can get. Once again, my expectations are down here again.
So
So,
Mog, was that his name?
yeah.
He does say, "Do you think it was Master Soul?" And she's like, "That is a powerful accusation." So she doesn't say like that can't have happened or anything
hmm
like that. Like she doesn't say one way or another. She just says that's a powerful accusation. Like watch who you say that to, but you might be right. That's kind of the vibe that I got
hmm
from her response.
Yeah. Oh, and then I guess the other they kind of make us think that the Sith guy got his scars from his master, so we don't know if that was a Jedi or his Sith master. And it seems to be, we kind of talked about this, but like a whip scar. Um, so if Vernestra was like the Sith person, that would be a crazy twist as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I mean, maybe they will go there where because they have been trying to show the Jedi as, you know, almost like dirty cops in a way.
Yep.
And so maybe we do get part of that flashback where he's maybe part of the coven or he's around or something, and Vernestra is using the lightsaber whip to interrogate. But man, that would be very, I would say, shocking to see. I wouldn't really bet money before this show to think that there were Jedi going around and doing these things and trying to cover it up.
Right. Probing people's minds, just doing whatever they want.
I have a hard time believing how accurate she could be with that whip. What I mean by that is she slices the bug like in half, like it's in two pieces essentially, or at least that's what I thought it was.
Crack
Exactly
it.
down the middle.
Right, but like his scars, they're pretty bad scars, but like he wasn't chopped in half. Like how do you tickle the back, so to speak, just enough to leave a nasty scar, but not enough to like kill him.
Maybe it has a torture setting.
Lightsabers do have a length setting, but how to be that accurate, I do not know.
Yeah,
It just
it's
seems
it's a
too
good
easy.
question. Per-
But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I
I
hope we
feel like
find out.
I feel like they flashed us with his scars so many times that we're not going to get an answer.
I feel like they have to
You,
give
you
us
want to
an
see him
answer
again?
because of how many times they've seen the scars.
That's what I'm saying. Like we've seen it so many times, I can't see
Yeah.
them not explaining that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
You know
yeah.
how I got these scars?
Anyway, here's the Acolyte strung along another week. This
Yep.
show is like making me want to get rid of Disney Plus. It's crazy. Like I've never considered it before this, but
Well,
actually I have when I was like waiting for shows sometimes. But
I know our next show is supposed to be the Skeleton Crew, and I'm not very excited just because of what's going on here. And I honestly don't know much about the Skeleton Crew. I feel like that might be a hard sell for people.
hmm
The Goonies of Star Wars is what I've heard.
yeah,
But
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, so that was episode 6. We have two more, and my hope is that something pays off, right? Don't want this to be all for nothing, but um, maybe it'll be the first show that we kind of write off for Star Wars. I've been, you know, open to all the other projects that have happened, but this one's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think, is this going to be the episode? Do we finally start getting some answers here in our mystery show?
I feel like we've got to get some answers. Like if it does come to fruition that this is going to be the next flashback episode, or at least partially flashback, I think we'll definitely get some answers. I don't think we're going to get all of them. I would not be surprised if we get the some sort of revelation about Chimere in the final episode. Because
Hmm.
something tells me that Osha is gonna pair up with Chimere and Soul or whoever is trying to stop them for whatever they're doing is going to say to Osha the truth about Chimere, and that's when we learn about what really happened to him. So that's just my guess. But
Yeah, there's definitely some connections between some of these casts, but we don't quite know what they are.
yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about for the episode? Anything that jumped
Mm,
out to you?
was a little spooky seeing all the dead Jedi again, just cruising through.
Oh yeah,
That's
we
how we,
forgot.
that's how they got credited for this episode.
Yeah, we forgot to talk about how we were wondering how Jackie was supposed to be in a future episode, and it was her dead body.
Aw, they paid
Same
her
with
to.
Yord.
Yeah,
Yord, can you just like turn your head to the side? Little more, a little more. Really make it look broken. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm excited for next week, I guess. Maybe you'll see a Wookiee Jedi.
yeah, and it's not too far away. Unfortunately, the holiday, delayed us a little bit, but that's okay. And we'll get some hopefully some answers soon. But that was our discussion on the episode 6 of the Acolyte. There are, like we said, two more. We'll have our seventh episode here on Tuesday, and we will have a discussion video on that as well, talking about what happened. And if you want to make sure that you get notified about that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Drops a like if you like the video, and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on the episode, what you're theorizing, and how did that water scene make you feel? And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.